And boy, we're going to be talking about a shitbird.
Oh, God.
Let me just get into this story, Dylan, because you're going to be like, this is some shit.
Dive straight in.
Nathan Callahan was a teenage boy living in an affluent upper-middle-class home in the upscale Falls Creek neighborhood of Kingsport, Tennessee. The family had a pretty fancy Tudor-style house, just judging from photos. I mean, they had some money. When Nathan was 14, he began experimenting with drugs. His parents started to stay on his ass. The relationship was deteriorating. And by the time he was 15, his grades had dropped. He was hanging out with the wrong crowd. He had a group of new friends. He stopped doing homework, was skipping classes. All that classic.
What the hell, bruh?
Juvenile, I'm going to turn into a delinquent behavior, right?
Yeah, you can't do all that shit, man. You can't. You're going to get in trouble, and you're ruining your future.
Trust gets broken with parents, especially his father. His father is on his ass, starts cracking down on his son. Glenn, the father, installed a recording device on the family phone line. Glenn Callahan caught his son talking with friends about marijuana, sneaking out of the house, and driving a 1994 Trans Am that he'd been gifted by his grandfather, though he didn't have a license. So like most parents, Glenn was upset. This is not the kind of thing he wanted his son to be doing.
So Glenn's not playing around. He's had enough, and he's getting all the info he needs from recorded conversations on the phone, which I think is kind of funny. Some people might say that's extreme, but what can you do, you know?
When your kid is out of control,
when
there's not a lot of options.
There's not. And I think he's well within his rights to record a phone that he pays for everything. It's his child. I honestly think he's well within his rights to do that. I don't blame him at all.
The father and son pair had a confrontation, and Nathan denied everything. Glenn grew so angry during the argument that he smashed his son's electric guitar.
Oh, see, this is what happens when people are continually frustrated and they've tried a million things. They've tried every way possible to get you to do better. You know, at first it usually starts with enticements, like if you do this, I'll do this for you. And then it's take away all the privileges. And then, you know, they keep on and on and on. And then it can become violent or physical. Fearful
of what Nathan might do, his father spent the night in Nathan's bedroom. He had a bedroom that was in like a downstairs kind of area. Now, the following morning, Nathan said he was going to take a shower, but he crawled out a window, and he was found by his parents hiding under basement stairs. At this time, his dad sold the Trans Am.
So he's like, screw that. We're getting rid of this car. You don't deserve it.
His parents took him in for a mental evaluation. The doctor didn't find any mental illness, but concluded that Nathan had a substance abuse problem and recommended some outpatient therapy with possible inpatient treatment if he continued using drugs.
Yeah, I don't know, Doc. You might have missed some bigger issues on that one. I think he's got a little more problems than just smoking a little pot.
Glenn began restricting Nathan from hanging out with his friends, cut off his allowance, and a low blow to any teenager, refused to allow Nathan to get his learner's permit until he tested negative for drugs and improved his grades.
Well, that's not a crazy request from your parents. I mean, really, why am I going to let you do what you want to do when you're not doing any stuff you need to do?
And then get you a learner's permit and give you a car and give you freedom, more freedom to go out and do shitty things?
No, fuck that. No, because you're in your minor first, molt of a shitbird, and I want you to turn into a normal person.
So yeah, this wasn't working. He continues testing positive in drug screens. So Glenn's still like, you're not getting a car, a license.
Yeah.
No money.
No, and it's not going to get better till you change things around. But this kid is dug in. He's just like, screw you.
In February of 1994, Gail Callahan traded in her car for a black Camaro. And she told her son if he'd passed 2 drug tests, she'd give him the car.
Okay. It's on the son now. Ball's in your court, dude. Show us a little bit of positive changes.
Now, at some point, Nathan asks his sister Holly, who's also in the company of a friend, what would you do if I killed mom and dad?
Okay.
And Holly told him, shut up, that's not nice. I will never forgive you if you kill our parents. Just don't even say stupid shit like that, basically.
Yeah, I'm going to call the police and tell them you told me that. How about that shit?
During this time, Nathan has been talking about murdering his parents to friends. He asks about the best way to dispose of bodies, how he should do it. He's just like crowdsourcing, basically.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all, how should I kill my parents? And like accepting input.
Yeah. What would you do if you're kicking it with a friend and you know somebody and they keep, or it's not even just some stupid joke? I wish my parents would die, which I don't even think I've never even heard anybody say something like that. But just if somebody kept on and on about, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to do it. I'm ready. I'm making a plan. I'm going to kill my parents. What would you do?
I would tell an adult.
I would tell somebody. I would tell my parents. I'd be like, I think they mean it. This isn't right. This is not just some teenager showing their ass, really. This is getting dangerous.
He talked about murdering his grandparents, too, so he could steal their money and Valium.
Jesus Christ.
He tells friends he's going to pawn his mother's jewelry out of state. He also discusses shooting cops if they try to arrest him and how he'd probably have a police chase to get away.
Oh, he's got it all figured out, don't he?
It's like, what is it, the Grand Theft Auto video game?
Yeah. It's like he's living it out in real life.
He's like, I'm going to shoot some cops, I'm going to beat up some prostitutes, take the money back, get in a police chase, there's going to be a groovy soundtrack.
Yeah, and if I need a car, I'll just run up and hit somebody in the face, jump in their car. Of course, I'm going to pick a badass car, you know?
Right.
Yeah, that Trans Am my dad took away.
It just shows the immaturity. Anyway, on Wednesday, March 30th, Nathan's father was away on a business trip, but he was going to be returning that evening. Gail Callahan and 13-year-old Holly went out shopping. While they were gone, Nathan made several phone calls to friends where he discussed killing his mom and sister.
Okay.
Unbeknownst to Nathan, his dad was recording these phone calls.
Jesus Christ.
In the conversations, he harbored a lot of the animosity toward his parents. He discussed in detail his plans to execute the family. He had been given a 20-gauge shotgun for Christmas by his grandfather. His parents kept it in a box under their bed. Well, he had found a box of ammunition, the gun that they had hidden away. He was loading it up with 4 shells. He then placed the gun outside behind a fence near the garage of the home. Now, the whole time he's doing this, he's on the phone with his friend, a guy named James Saylor. And Saylor was urging him on, giving him advice, tips, telling him what he should do, what he shouldn't do.
What the fuck's wrong with him?
When Gail and Holly return home, Nathan set the phone down and he goes outside. He picks up the shotgun and hid behind the Camaro that was parked in the driveway. His mom and sister opened the garage door and began walking inside. Now, as they near the door to the house, he steps in the garage. His sister Holly turns around. That's when he shoots her in the lower front part of her body.
Oh, my God.
He then shoots his mother in the shoulder. He walks a few feet closer, shooting Holly in the head. Then he loaded the gun again, shooting his mother in the buttocks, back, and in the head. The brains of both Gail and Holly were blown out of their skulls all over the garage.
Oh, my God. See, maybe it... Jesus.
Nathan then steps over the bodies and goes back into the house where he casually picks up the phone, and his friend James is still on the line waiting. Nathan confides in James that he had just killed his mother and sister. Not sure what to believe, James signals for his mother to get on the phone line and listen in. Nathan repeats everything that he's done again, bragging about it. James's mother, listening in, is afraid that he's going to come to their house and immediately calls 911.
Yeah, so maybe, I guess his buddy thought it maybe he was joking, carrying on, and he's going to play around, play his part with him. And he's like, yeah, man, sure. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, get the gun. See, this is a troubled kid. Obvious, showing all the signs. Should have never had access to firearms. If they're in the house, they should have been locked up. Kept, ammunition put away, whatever you got to do to make them safe. This type of kid should never be able to just go lay his hands on a gun for obvious reasons.
Nathan gets off the phone, takes his mom's money, her cell phone, and the keys to the Camaro. He takes off. Police arrive at the house. They discover the garage door is open, and inside the officers find the bodies of Holly and Gail. They find bloody footprints all over the garage and inside the house, but no sign of Nathan. Shell casings are all over the floor by the bodies. Gail's purse is found lying open in a laundry basket with all the cash and money, everything wiped out of her wallet. Nathan drives in the Camaro to Fort Henry Mall to find another friend. Instead, he finds a classmate hanging out in a video arcade playing some games, and Nathan casually tells the guy he just shot his mom and sister. He pulls out the car keys and asks, "Well, do you believe me now?
Wow.
I've got the Camaro."
Look how cool I am.
He then tells the guy he has to find somewhere to hide and leaves the mall. He stops off at a convenience store to use a payphone. While he's there, someone calls 911 and reports him because he's wearing bloody clothes and walking around casually telling people he's murdered his family.
Yeah, see, this kid had mental issues. He had some kind of mental issue going on. This is very abnormal, even for someone who's crazy, or I'm sorry, not crazy, but someone who's disturbed enough to kill their family. You would want to cover up the evidence, right? You wouldn't walk around with bloody clothes on. You wouldn't tell everybody that would listen to you that what you just did. You'd try to cover it up, right? So yeah, he's definitely having issues.
Police track him down to this convenience store and arrest him. He has the gun, shotgun shells, everything in the back of the Camaro. Now, his dad, Glenn, has made it back from the business trip by this time and finds this grisly scene at his home.
Oh, my goodness. Those bodies with that many shotgun blasts into them? I can't imagine.
Such a close distance.
Such a close distance. It was just, that scene was very, very gruesome. No doubt about it.
Nathan is taken down to the station where he's being interviewed. He admits everything.
Man, he's not even trying to hide it.
He was given a mental evaluation, but found competent to stand trial. A clinical psychologist did testify at Nathan's trial that he was emotionally and mentally immature. He was found guilty of murdering his mother and sister and was given life plus 22 years.
Wow.
He was recently denied parole. The district attorney said in 35 years of cases, it was one of the worst crime scenes he had ever seen.
Well, yeah, I can imagine it was. Very bloody. Just, stuff everywhere. The body, I'm sure it couldn't even have an open casket, funeral. It's just horrible.
According to reports, his father remarried and moved to South Carolina, but died in a car wreck in 1999. So it seems that Nathan got his wish that his whole family would die.
Yeah, and his dad lost his whole family that day, right? His son went away for it, his daughter, his wife, and it sounded like they tried everything they could to, support him and get him back on the right path. And I just think there were some underlying issues that weren't being addressed.
This kid was a sociopath, in my opinion. But studies show that in the 1990s, teenage males were committing murder at alarming rates.
That's true. We remember that.
Between 1976 and 1991, 23,000 teenagers were perpetrators of homicide, about 1,400 a year.
Damn, I didn't know it was that many.
In 67% of murders, the teenage boys used a gun.
Wow. So, it almost was like a trend there for a while, It's sadly what you see with the school shootings nowadays. It's like these kids are, sad and depressed and having issues of what can I do about it or how can I act out, and they see other people that do this stuff and they see people talk about it. And I really do think that's what fuels these types of thoughts in people's heads, like, I feel worthless, no one, don't have friends, everybody's against me, my parents, what can I do to make, my mark on the world? And sadly, they turn to violence and crimes like, killing people.
Other famous teenagers who committed murder. Brenda Spencer, she famously is known for shooting up her school in 1979 because she didn't like Mondays.
Yeah. That is a case I'd only recently heard of on some other stuff we were listening to, but that's very strange. Very strange how the reporter was just canvassing the neighborhood, randomly calling people and asking what they knew about what was going on. And then he called her, and she was the one shooting from the damn window of her house.
Yeah, so while she's in the midst of shooting up her school,
he's talking to her,
sniper style. Yeah. She's on the phone with a reporter.
Yeah, and she's giving answers. Which, could you imagine this reporter is probably like, oh my God, this is,
I don't like Mondays.
I don't like Mondays.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with the Brenda Spencer story, you should definitely look that up. There have been quite a few podcasts that have covered that case. I know that we listen to True Crime All the Time, I believe, is the podcast that covered her case.
Yeah, and the girls there
Hollywood
on
Crime Scene.
Hollywood Crime Scene, they covered it as well.
That's right. In May of 1983, a 14-year-old named Pete Zimmer killed his adoptive parents and stabbed his brother. He shot his parents, stabbed his